professionals. We can all add it onto our CVs,
Here we go.
our curriculum vitae.
Huh? Talk about this.
No? Yes. Oh, yoy. Okay, wait.
All
Ooh,
righty.
gotta get
Here we go.
my leg in there. Hello.
So welcome to the first remote video Baila Room podcast with none other than Christine Harrison. Before we start, I would like to say that it's going to be very hard not to talk about COVID, and we will hit it off with that subject. And we
Mm-hmm.
are in no way professionals or experts on that field. We are two business school, dance school owners, and it's coming from
Correct.
a business dance school perspective. It's important
Yeah.
to get it out of the way so people
Yeah,
defer to experts, right? We don't want
that's
to
right.
carry the responsibility of anything we say, and we're
No.
going to tread lightly on the recommendations and things like that because it's
Yes.
every
Check the
day it's
proper
new.
websites. Yes.
That's a go.
Yeah.
First, it's good to see you.
I
Very good to see you
know.
because I think we're going through the exact same thing on opposite end of the island.
It's so true. Oh my gosh.
How
Social distancing.
can you tell me a bit how it happened on your side, like the timeline?
Yeah. So for us, it
Let,
was a good old Friday the 13th, March 13th. We knew. Okay, so I on that Wednesday of coming back after spring break, and that week so far everything was fine. I mean, we were hearing more and more that things were not good and things were getting more intense. I myself had been in the US over before spring break sort of thing. I came home March 4th from Miami. So the government had only implemented the 2-week quarantine as of, I think, the 12th of March or the 13th of March. Anyway, I we heard a lot coming kind of down the pipelines, but in terms of the studio, as soon as on that Thursday night, they announced very late in the day, I think it was even 5 o'clock, that the schools were closed the next day. Um, and we tend to, as a dance school that caters to a lot of families, we tend to follow the same lead as the schools most of the time. That tends to be like our benchmark of what to do. Um, so when the schools closed, we were like, oh boy, here we go. And at that time, we were still going to run classes on the Friday because they came out with the 250 person gathering at first. And we were like, okay, well, we're definitely under 250 people in the studio. As large as we are, we're still under 250. But then as the day kind of progressed, that particular day, it didn't feel like the right thing to do to open the studio. Not so much in a point of fear at this point. It was really just to not put any family or any person in distress or stress to come to the studio at this point. Because as I've learned on this situation, everybody deals with it very differently. Everybody deals with stress, anxiety, the unknown very differently. And that's cool. That's fine. I think we just got to navigate through that. Yeah, so we stopped on the Friday in hopes that it was because they needed to figure out their system in terms of school for the Monday. And to be honest with you, at that point, I did not think we would be shut down after that. I thought it would be really, they were taking a couple of days as schools to figure out like lunchtime protocol because there's lots of kids in the schools at that time. At the same time, I really didn't think that we would be shut. But we were. We ended up closing that weekend and then in hopes that things would get back to normal on the Monday or Tuesday. And as we all know, that did not happen. So we were really taking it day by day, and then we were taking it 1 week at a time. And then when our François Legault announced the May 1st deadline, I was like, okay, this is 4 weeks. It's total, it'll be 6 weeks that we're closed. I was like, okay, but we still take it 1 week at a time. Not that we're reopening. I just mean in terms of contact and staying up to date with our clients. How was it for you? Because you're dealing with we deal with children. Like 90% is under the age of 15.
Similar situation. The day where François Legault announced that the schools are going to be closed, I turned around to my wife and said, we're gonna close. Like it just hit me like we're gonna close because even if I kind of match the school kind of like we take a break in July, we have spring break, and I match the schedule. even if we're dealing with adults, we are adults that sweat, touch, lick each other's faces,
True.
right? So we are, we are, well, let's put it in context. We're a salsa school. It
Yeah, I
was
was
a
gonna
joke.
say you're
Yeah,
gonna
it's a
get like
joke.
new
It's a
business right
joke.
from that post quarantine. People be like, I'm signing up at that school.
All right. So once that happened, I think we're like a very at risk clientele, or we
Mm,
will put people at risk. And because people, like you said, deal with it differently, everybody has different intake of information. Some are more cautious, some are more bravado. Like you said, it's fine. But the gravity of that situation didn't hit me. It hit me when we had to close, when we had to make the move to close. We basically closed a day or 2 days before we would have been forced to close. So,
us
like I
too.
said, at the end of the day, it wouldn't matter, right? So, I
Right.
say, I'm just happy that we took that decision, and we just said, okay, that's the right thing to do at that point. But I was dabbling with information like everybody else as it was coming down. You remember, it's like every hour it changed. Like
I
every hour
know.
it was brand new. We're like, okay, so
Yeah.
now there's this, then there's that, then there's
That
2 meters, then there's 1 meter, and everything changes. And I think,
it's so true.
like, thank God we have, like, I think our politicians are beyond remarkable if we compare them with other countries. But
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to be a politician, because imagine these guys, they have to take decisions on a situation that never happened. So we
Mm,
can't even judge their performance. We're just like,
I know.
you guys are doing great. Hold on, because if I was worried, dead worried. Imagine if I would be in charge of somebody, a whole population, and trying to figure out how are we going to communicate these things. And other people are like, well, it's not clear. It's not clear what they want. It's like, listen, it's a crisis. Like,
It's right.
give them a break.
We I think this is maybe just my personal opinion. I think we have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends in the US. Um, and I will say that I'm not a huge, like, I was never a massive François Legault fan. But I will say that during this unpredictable time, he has been so consistent and so ahead and making decisions ahead of the rest of our country in
Yeah,
terms of a province.
yeah,
Um, I was so impressed. I mean, a lot of people are like, whoa, it's so, look, whoa, 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 it's too intense. And I'm like, let's go intense. Let's be intense now. So we're not in this situation for 5 months.
yeah,
I don't want to be like this for 5 months. Nobody wants to be like this for 5 months. But um, I was really impressed with that, and the fact that every day he had a press conference at the same time, because I think in human nature, we need consistency, and we need consistency even in information. As
mm,
it's changing, at least it was coming in every day at that time from that one person that everybody could look at and get clear information. He was better than our prime minister, I
yeah,
thought. Like, I found him really taking the reins.
yeah.
I mean, yes, it's not the whole country, but he only had the province to worry about. But yeah, I was
I was
I'm
making
impressed.
I was making the comparison with insurance. Like, when you buy insurance, the pitch, the sell pitch is amazing. Yeah, we're great, we're amazing, but you'll never know how good your insurance is until you go through a fire. Like, and then you'll find out if
Exactly.
they take care of you. Then you'll
Yeah.
know. So I have that
Yeah.
feeling with François Legault. I didn't have any love for that guy, but like, all political perspective
Right.
aside, as a person, I was like, okay, he's okay. He's not
Yeah.
Barack Obama, It's like Barack Obama. Every time he spoke, I was like, hey, I felt like
Got an
uplift.
attention.
I didn't know anything about his policies. I was just like, man, this guy can speak.
Yeah, he's an excellent
Yeah,
public speaker.
yeah.
It's the intonation in his voice and when he pauses
Yes,
and then when he speaks again,
yes,
and that
yes,
this is possible. Like, it's the
yes,
way he pauses and you're like,
yeah. You were,
I can do it.
yeah, yeah. You're
I'm not
like,
even American, but I'm
you
gonna
have
do it.
you're half depressed after the speech. You're like, I'm not depressed anymore. He's really, really good. And François Legault, thank God, and he's also, he has that calm demeanor. He's not
Yes.
like inflammatory like other leaders we won't mention.
Yes.
He's like,
In
he's
other
just,
big houses. Yeah.
hmm. And what's your, how do you plan? How do you deal with it with your staff? How is your staff handling it? Like,
Well,
what's your feeling?
because okay, so that was because we don't really have staff, right? We have
Yeah,
contractors,
yeah,
and the contractors, immediately panicked, of course, because a lot of them and good friends of ours are professional dance teachers, choreographers, and this is all they do.
Hmm.
So they don't have UI, and there was no talk yet of the CERB now that is out. There was no talk of anybody who's as artists who what kind of help they were going to get from the government. I had teachers coming to me asking to forward money and like monthly forward their monthly like paycheck early just so that they could get through and pay rent. That didn't have to happen just because the government has now stepped in and recognized that we have a very large amount of an artist community in Quebec, huge, that need a different kind of support. Um, to be also just to go back for when we actually closed. So we closed, like I was saying, to the general public, like our recreational program, which is very large. But then our competitive program is about 100 people ish. And at this point, we still wanted to run our competitive program because we weren't closed down yet. And we were like, so the Sunday there was still one rehearsal of our mega crew, which is 15 people. They still had practice that Sunday night. I mean, they were still not like, I mean, in hip hop, you don't really hold hands or anything like that. There's none of that. But I mean, they were still disinfecting and everybody washed their hands before they started. We had already implemented that on the Monday after spring break, actually. But anyway, yeah, so we then officially shut the day after. Like,
Mm.
not even competitive was allowed to train because it just became too redundant at that point to do any of that. So, and I think then it was like, okay. And I will tell you, I don't know about you, but that first week, I mean, I also have 3 children at home.
Mm.
Yeah, good times. So I had to kind of balance what was I going to do with the studio and my teachers and all that, and 3 boys under the 8 and under. So for me, the first week, I really took a hiatus actually from social media, and I really had to figure out my life with the kids and the neighbors and who was playing with who and that sort of thing. And I think in the beginning, we were all still really kind of relaxed about it and very, um, we're all still hanging out on the street and having happy hour at 4 o'clock, not with social distancing, but it wasn't like it is now. I mean, now
Mm.
nobody goes out of their house, but um,
Let's just say
yeah, that
we're the second week, right? Just to give a time frame to the audience. We
well, for us,
and
I counted week 3.
okay, so we're
We're
week three
starting week
now.
3. We've
Got it.
completed
Exactly.
2 weeks
Got it. Yeah,
of this situation. So we've completed
that's what I
two.
meant.
I always use the Friday was a completion of 2 weeks
Yeah.
from March 13th, and then this is the beginning of the because we're only Tuesday, beginning of the third week. So yeah, the first week for me, I I struggled. I'm not going to say I didn't. I mean, geez, I'm human too.
Yeah.
And it took me to. Oh, I have a visitor. It took me to the Saturday. Everett, are you coming to say hi? This is
Hello.
COVID, everybody.
Hello.
Quarantine with the family.
Oh,
Okay, Everett, mommy's on a call. Can you do me a favor? Can you play in your room? Reality.
that's it.
Okay, you can sit there nicely. Yeah, so for me, I don't know about you, but you're sure you're a very extrovert person like me and very social. It's very difficult to be isolated. And I hit like a wall after that first week, and everything kind of came down, and I was like a mess because I'm thinking,
What
you
is this
know,
on you,
I
Mommy?
one second, I don't even like I see anywhere I'm like you, 10 to 150 people a day.
Yeah, it's a
So the
shock.
realization of seeing my 3 children, which I obviously like to see, but three
Mm.
children and my husband and maybe 2 neighbors, it was like, how am I going to do this?
It's
This is not,
I,
regardless of the business, like emotionally as a
yeah.
human, I was like, I need to see people. I'm
Hmm.
like, I'm in that position of leading and
Yeah.
go and make decisions and everything was like shut down.
Yeah, and so quick
So
and instant. And now I say to my wife, I go, listen, it's like Groundhog Day.
every
Isn't it?
night, every
Isn't it?
night,
It's like you wake up, you have
okay,
breakfast, you teach a bit to your kids, then you eat
totally.
again, you go
Yep,
take a walk. And
yep.
I don't know, the latest walks were so eerie because
I
I
know.
was dodging people and everybody has a different comfort zone, right? So the comfort zone kind of tighten it, like it was tight. Like right now, like people, you feel that they're aware. But the first times, like I was dodging people, I had to literally like hold on to my kids while other kids are playing with each other and were almost jumping on my kids. And I was telling them, get away. And I was hoping that some parent told them what is happening. I don't want to be that guy just telling some
Yeah.
strange kid, get away from my kids, right? So, but
Yeah.
at the beginning, I felt like people didn't get it as much as now.
Yeah,
Like, thank,
I will admit that we didn't. Like we have, and I'll be the first to say it, like we have neighbors across the street here. They have 3 kids. The other good friends just on the other corner, 2 twin girls, a set of twin girls, and then our other good friends over there. And we were the same gang. We all know that we're healthy, we all know where we've been, and that the kids were always playing together. Like still, like the parents were not in contact, like we were still distancing
mm,
ourselves, but we were allowing the kids to play
mm,
in the first week, I would say, first
yeah,
week and a half. It's not like that now.
I know.
The only time kids are getting to play, I mean, if they're on their bike and we're on our bike and we're biking, but no one's talking because you're biking.
Yeah.
So it's like go for a bike ride, but isolating yourselves. Like you're still
Hmm.
biking, but so we're trying to find ways to play and get the kids to be active. And my boys are very active without overstepping and not doing the wrong thing and doing the right thing. And there's a lot of, as a mom, and for anybody who has a parent as well, I mean, I think our role as parents was thrusted first,
Yeah.
and then when I have headspace, it's like I also have to deal with the business side.
But did you see all the posts? I think of the second week on Facebook about now you're gonna appreciate your teachers. It's
Oh
like
my
now you're gonna
gosh.
love them once you get stuck at home with your children. Some of these children do not behave very well. Maybe not. So
And
so
that's when they were like, maybe it's not the teacher,
yeah, maybe
maybe it's my kid.
after a month.
And imagine this is like day, like
They,
seriously, I'm in week, I mean, yeah, the second week we were like trying to do a schedule. We were a bit more lackadaisical about it. Now we're like, no, no, we're living on the schedule, man. We have it like written out, and you eat lunch,
yeah, yeah.
we pack the lunches, man. Because my
No, you
kids were
do right.
eating like
Good idea.
800 snacks a day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It was
100%. At the
like,
beginning, we were, because I guess we were also extremely anxious about the what's happening. We had to set a structure, and I wasn't the one leading that. It was my wife. So I was like, yeah,
mhm,
you go, girl. Let's do structure, because even me, I need to know what the hell is happening with the day, right? But
yeah.
I think it's strange because as much as it changes the nature of my job. Like I was, like you said, the business guy with the teacher, seeing all the people, and now I've become, let's just say, full-time father, right? But I really have that feeling where I think that my children are going to be probably the reason that my morale won't go in the gutter ever.
Yes. What
I
a
think
good
so.
point.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
left to my own
Yes.
senses,
Yeah,
left.
I know, me too.
Oh,
I'm like that
yeah,
emoji. That's
yeah.
me. I'm that emoji like this. Show me. I've been telling everybody. I'm like, I am that emoji. You ask me how I'm feeling, like nothing to do with anything, but I'm like this. Like I am that emoji, just my name
Oh,
beside it. But it's not easy, and I think that my neighbor, we had gone for a walk, and she would say, she saw this on Facebook, and it was like, don't worry about your introverted friends. You better be checking on those extroverted friends because they're not okay. And I was like, I'm not okay, man. Like I like you and all, but I like to see a variety of people in my life. Like
yeah. But thank
it's
God for
really,
our families, because I know some people that are alone, like for real, like alone, and
yeah, I know.
that's tough and a
That's
half.
hard. Yeah,
That's really, really tough. We're not
I know.
wired to be alone ever.
That's humans. No, absolutely
Yeah.
not. No, I think that's why I've been talking a lot with my staff and even the studio about mental health right now
Mm,
because, you know, everyone's like, oh, take this and learn to do this new thing and take up a new task. And, yeah, those are great ideas. But, now is more than ever that we realize how our mental health is really important, and learning to sit and to be alone, to be still and to be quiet. It's hard, especially as somebody for myself. I'm somebody who doesn't sit. very much and likes to move and likes to be like challenged and always on the go, and I got to go do this and I hurry up and I got to get my car and I got to go and get that, and I enjoy that part of my life. So
Yeah.
learning how to sit and be alone and work on that has been very challenging as
I
a as
think
a
once
as a
once
person.
I accepted that there's a variety. You see,
A
that's
variety,
thank you
a
very much.
variety.
Variété. You see, that's what a French guy learning English that
That's
during
okay.
teenhood. Okay, so basically, what was I saying?
I don't know, the variety of
What were you talking about? I just sidetracked. What were you
talking about
saying
mental
before?
health. I was talking about mental health, how it's like how we are always very go go busy busy, especially me.
Yeah.
Um, Having to stop and not going anywhere and going to the grocery store maybe once a week, and sort of recentering myself and having to sit alone and learning how to be at peace with not doing a lot,
Hmm.
um, has been very difficult. I mean, not that I'm not busy, because yeah, I'm busy with 3 kids, but it's a different kind of busy. It's not, it's parenting busy. It's not Christine busy, if that makes sense.
For me, it happened when I accepted that this going to be the situation for weeks.
Mm,
And it was funny. The way I lived through it in my head, I always had the catastrophic scenario first, right? So I always said to my friends, because at what point we buy a machete? Like at one point we defend our house, we set
the
traps,
looting,
yeah,
looting.
because I was thinking about these things, right? And I
Me
was
too.
thinking,
You
yeah,
did once
well,
too.
yeah, I was like, some sensible people talk sense into my head. Goes, listen, we're not there. We got a good government and stuff like that. Don't worry about that. But all these steps where I thought, okay, I'll be closed for 2-3 days, then I'll be closed for a week, then I'll be closed for a week and a month. It's almost like accepting something that I will not find again, or accepting that, okay, that's the new normal. Like almost like a little part of my thought process died. Like, and then
Yeah.
I couldn't move on at that point. And then when I moved on, I was like, okay, so that's the situation that I was presented with. And one thing that really helped me is just to think about, this is not something that I control. And on top
Right.
of it, it's something that every single person is living through right now. And 25% of the entire planet is living through that situation currently. So I'm thinking, I can't fight it with my, I can't
No.
continue to be anxious about the future and stuff like that. I just have to deal with the situation, and that day by day thing we're not very good at. It's going to be training to be good at, like you said, sit still, take a day at a time, really enjoy the attention and the presence of the children. Trust me, I'm so not an expert at that. I can
No,
say
me neither.
meditate and think about it. I'll think of 10,000 things before thinking about one
I
single
know.
thing, right?
I
but
know.
but but there's no way that I'll be, I should say this. I think there's a part that's going to be beneficial, even if it's bad
Yeah.
to say it like that, because I always feel bad thinking these things, because I know some people are really in deep trouble. But I'm just saying that there's a part maybe afterwards when we're going to look at it, because we never in our lives, we never had adversity like we do now. We never had it. And I was basically living the most comfortable
Mm,
life that
mm.
if you compare our life throughout the world, right? We are jumping in fields of, it's like
It's
almost
the
like a love
yeah.
story. It's like the best scenario possible. We're in
Yeah.
province, everybody's taken care of. We got a good social system. It's like almost like the best place that you can live in the world.
Well, it is.
And then you get hit,
Like, it very
like
much is.
like I remember saying to my wife, it goes, this is like people that did World War II. It's like they're
No, I
but
still
I
think
mean,
it's not that bad.
no, I know,
Like, we're not at war. I mean,
but what I
Jesus.
mean, yeah, no, I don't want to compare with that, but I mean how it hit. Like, this is
Yeah,
how close we're gonna get to a feeling where the economy goes down, everything stops moving, and then you're thinking, oh shoot, you start to worry about the basics.
I know.
Before, you're like, hey, whatever, let's go to this restaurant.
Always.
Let's
Yeah.
spend $200 at a nice meal with a friend. You know, I didn't think about these things. You think I'm
No,
gonna go and spend $200 now?
never. You crazy? How much I'm eating in groceries? It's like that's a realization is how much we spend, how much I was spending on, restaurants, which at the same time I'm supporting a lot of local business, which I'm proud to do. But and then you realize how much you're not at home making homemade meals. And now it's and my son and I are on like Everett that you just saw is he and I are on a very strict protocol for food in general. Like we have a very strict AIP, it's called autoimmune paleo. We've got some stuff that we're working on. So we also have very clean eating, so a lot of organic, so and different things that I can't get at only one grocery store. So unfortunately, I do when I actually go out, I have to make multiple stops, and
Hmm.
I don't know. It's been a really yeah. It's so hard to articulate exactly. I will say that you know I where my sadness comes from, or even my own personal like worry. Not so much for myself, to be totally honest. Kids are healthy. I'm healthy. My parents are healthy. My immediate surrounding, it's when I read information about other countries and what's happening and people dying. And it's a very painful death, from this disease. It's not an easy, you basically, it's asphyxiation. You're not
Hmm.
able to breathe. It's like drowning.
Hmm.
Um, and we're followed by a neurologist in the US. And I was speaking to her last week, and it's really real when you speak to a doctor who's living it and dealing with it directly than when we are sitting in our homes and our comfortable homes and our beautiful scenery. And we're not affected, we're input, it's affecting us, but not in this direct way like it is with people who are working in the healthcare systems across the world who are dealing with it. And the way she's describing certain things, and yes, it's in the US, it's a very different situation than it is here, but the lack of information there is very high. The
Hmm.
lack of details of how it's actually transmitted and how long it stays on surfaces or how long it stays on your clothes and why are we social distancing. There's been a lot of mixed messages there. This was last week, mind you, but yeah, and just her opinion. And this is just her opinion because she has friends who are physicians in different parts of the U.S. and they're already running out of ventilators already. This was last week and running out of oxygen in New York. Like So this is before you get on the ventilator, it's oxygen tanks. So I mean it's very that part of is sad. It's like people are dying. Like the number of people that are gonna die is astounding.
Hmm.
Um I don't know. And I think as a race thought we were really invincible,
Hmm.
and it's a big lesson for us. We're not, and we have to take care of that part of the world that could continue and this could happen again easily, and we have to be really vigilant and smart. And it's amazing how this pandemic is teaching us about some really basic things as humans in general.
There's a scientist that said it's just a rehearsal.
Gosh,
Can you really? Like a pragmatic guy. It's just a rehearsal, guys. Don't worry about it. You know, it's a
for
rehearsal for
the
things to come. Just to
for the
you
Big Bang.
establish. So you establish some systems. So you're ready for the big one. You know, it's like, okay, thank you, buddy. Do you take breaks
Yeah.
of news? Because I do. I can't
Oh,
handle.
I don't. I
I
don't.
don't.
I don't listen.
I
I
can't
can't.
handle it. Yeah. X.
No, I read. All I do is I will read. There's a Facebook group that is the sort of synapse and everything that François Legault puts out, and it's in writing, and I'll read that. And I'll listen to the live feeds if I'm able to. But now I know we're at a pretty much and I watch these and I look at the stats, the numbers of
Mm.
cases, and that's it. Because the case count, that's pretty much what I
Do
look at.
you how do you envision the situation unfolding, but in relationship to your dance school?
So, as an eternal optimist in my heart, I am not willing to throw in the towel and say that it's pooched and the season's forgotten. Um, However, I may salvage my season. I technically had 8 weeks left of my season. So, because it's a 28-week session year program. So, whenever I get back in, if I can do 6 weeks, obviously pushing my end of year show and doing 6 weeks and maybe crediting 2 weeks to clientele into the future, into the any season that they would like to rejoin, is probably my implementation at that point. I don't believe that we're going to be back in May 1st. I actually think it's going to be later, in my opinion. I think that the May 1st is a big marker in terms of cases to look at where things are going. And then I think they might push us to June
Mm.
to be really sure. Because the biggest fear, right, is another peak or another spike in cases. But yeah, I'm hoping to salvage my season. The end of the year show is such a momentous event for families and kids and all their hard work and all the teachers' hard work. It's so important to find a way to still do that. I'm still in the midst of trying to figure that out. I can't set dates. I can't set timelines. I can't do any of that. If I lose my summer session, then I lose my summer, but I would extend my season and still be able to do that show. Just because I think it's so important to not lose the other 20 weeks that we just did. You know what I mean?
What do you do? Do you offer anything remotely right now, or your
Oh
teachers?
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
How
yeah,
does it
yeah. We're
happen?
all so the competitive program meets once a week, all the coaches on Zoom, and we have our plan and what's been working, what's not working. Each coach works anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours on Zoom with their crews, with their groups. This is our contemporary, our jazz, as well as our hip hop crews. And we're working on sending projects and assignments to the students as well, and reviewing choreography and giving notes and all that kind of stuff. So we're just kind of staying in touch with them on a weekly on our with our competitive program twice a week. So that's been really good. In terms of the recreational program, we're not doing it like that. What we're doing for them is that all the teachers of all the rec kids, they film themselves doing their choreography and a little warm up and like fun things and saying hi to the kids, and sent that directly to each class through our um, database is how we did that. We haven't done any lives and stuff like that just because everybody was like blowing up the internet with live classes. And it's really hard to compete with people like Marty Kudelka is giving a free live class, and which are like these huge choreographers. And you're like, no one's going to come to my live. So I kind of let that happen. And then now that's paring down,
Yeah,
obviously, as people
yeah,
get into the reality that this is a lot longer.
yeah.
So that's kind of paring down. And each week we put out a little video um, on our Instagram account. Like last week, it was Sarah Stebbin doing like hip hop 101 kind of thing. And then this week it's going to be somebody else putting out one video a week that you can go back to. It's a IGTV thing each week.
Do how people are receiving it? Like, what's the feedback? And
So we don't. Okay, so two things. Some people were very responsive in terms of positive, and we're so happy to get their kids were so happy to see their teacher on their TV screen and have that sort of relationship continue. 90%, 95%, if not all of them, are happy. Not everybody's replying and letting us know that, but quite a large amount are, which is great. And some that don't, it's okay. Like, we don't want to put that kind of pressure on anybody. And of course, there's lots of questions about what's happening to the season, what happens to my registration, refunds, that kind of stuff. And we also give out a weekly letter every Friday, also to our clients, just staying in touch. This is what we're doing. I hope you've been receiving them. How's that going? Because every week I maybe have a little bit more information of where we're headed.
mhm.
Um, because I can't, like I said, give final dates and things like that. So, but I would say 90% of the clientele, if not 95, have been super amazing because
Nice.
we're all in the same boat. Like,
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat just as much as they are. If they've been laid off, I've technically been laid off too. It happens to be my business, but like, we're all, and I wrote that in the letter because, I'm a very transparent person too. And it's like, I'm trying to figure this out also. I don't always have all the answers, and it's hard for me to make concrete decisions when I wasn't getting concrete information. Because we have a lot of competitions coming up and what was happening with them, and nobody was willing to give out because nobody knew, right, what to
Hmm.
do. So it's just, I think, managing the storm is, and managing that each wave is going to be different. Each thing, it's going to come at us a little differently. It's
Do you have was the percentage of people that requested a refund?
very low,
Nice.
like five.
Awesome.
Yep.
The first
Yep.
ones were hard, huh? It hurt or no?
Yep. It
Yeah.
hurts every time.
Yeah.
It hurts every time. I think, and it's not because I don't empathize. I do. It's just I think sometimes people don't realize the impact on the other end. Like I physically, I financially, I can't reimburse over 1,000 people. I can't. I will be already more under than I'm already under. Like I don't have a single penny coming in. Like I stopped all payments, obviously. And even these are people who owe money, who even up to this point who should have paid. I'm not even going there because I don't think it's the right moral thing to do, is to take payments for things that even though they owe it, I'm not doing that because I don't know everybody's personal situation, and it's not fair to ask for it at this time. Um, yeah, and I think that sometimes people forget that we're all in a tricky situation financially, all of us.
Hmm.
No one is like, great, cool. I don't think anyone's really feeling that way. Maybe some are more prepared than others financially and have a bit of savings and, don't feel as worried. But I think everybody underlining, really does feel that. I don't know. I feel when some people write it, it's out of a place of panic more than anything else. So, but I do respond, of course, and say I'm really sorry, but we're not giving any refunds at this point. So, yeah, it's hard, but and I'm not trying to disappoint anybody, and it's just reality of the situation. But it's also called a force majeure. It's a act of God. So it forces every situation in a different light because of it's an act. It's called a force majeure is the legal term. So we're all protected by that, actually, all of us, in terms of your commitments or certain things or payments, mortgages, da, 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 or
Hmm.
I rent. I mean, my rent. I don't know about you, what your situation is for your rent, for like your overhead. My guy's not being. No, he wants his money. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a
I
tricky,
think
fun one.
I think when everybody, if because everybody is in this situation, I think the correct response, I think, is understanding and a bit of I should say this slack. It's like you can't. I don't know. I think I try to run it through in my head. Like if everybody stops paying everything, the bank are going to do what?
Mm,
They're the last line of defense. So they already defer payments for people that have a mortgage of 6 months. I have a friend that got it. He doesn't have to
wow.
pay. He doesn't have to pay his mortgage for 6 months. But that's a move from a huge institution, like that moves
Yeah.
not very fast, like a relationship with somebody. So
Mm.
I don't know.
But they defer it but then it just gets tacked on at the end.
That's fine, and
Right.
that's fine. It's
I'm
just,
gonna get my
let's
drink.
say, yeah. Go ahead. I think
I had to get my drink.
I think if everything stops, like I don't have any more money coming in, you
Mm-mm.
know, and I have to find different solutions like everybody else. But
Yep.
let's say if some people that have mortgages and their expense is calculated on a monthly basis,
Yeah, that's
and
scary.
that's the only money they got. Let's say if, I don't know, just talking shit, it's like, let's say just 20% of the
Yeah.
society lives like that. And
Oh, I think it's more.
maybe it's more, yeah, right? So let's say if all these people that lost their jobs, they can't pay the houses, what the bank's going to do? Take all their houses? No. What are you going to do with the houses after? Like there's nobody's going to
Exactly.
want to buy them. So they're screwed also. So they decided to go ahead and power to them. And I didn't see it coming. I was like, what are we going to do with people with mortgages? So, well, if you're in a tight spot, you just defer the mortgage 6 months, and then we take it from there.
Hmm.
you know
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, and it's reality. Like and that's why, um, the being such an optimist, that I hope that I can salvage my season, however much I can salvage, and to be able to still kind of give that normalcy of that end of the closing it up, and that's the end of the year, and this is what we lived through, and
You,
massive eight,
how,
7 week
I,
pause.
I discussed it with a lot of people, but none of them were dance school owners. We have two scenarios. We have scenario number one, where once COVID is let's say tapers down, people have been so isolated that they want to jump back in the situation. They're going to run towards dance classes like head first. Oh my God, I want to see people. Scenario number one. Scenario number two, they'll be so traumatized or struck
Yeah,
by the whole
yeah,
distancing, by the whole stuff like that, that they'll be extra careful. And that careful aspect will maybe taper down next year, you know.
yeah.
From which of these scenarios you think is likely to happen?
I Okay, so I think it's a mix. So I think that, um it's not going to be that they're afraid to go in large groups, because kids will still have to go to school, right? In September, God willing, that we're going back to school. So the large groups, I don't know if it's that. I think if anything, it's extra income. I am an extracurricular activity, and if people are tighter and having to get back into the swing of their routine and try to, save more money and get back on payments or interest or whatever from credit cards, because those guys are still charging interest, like all that kind of stuff, it'll be the activities that they cut first. So I think that's more my long term worry. But listen, I opened the studio in a recession back in 2008. Um, I'm okay. Like, I think that it takes time. I think as humans, it's going to take time for all of us to heal, especially if some people are really been like really, really affected financially as well as maybe emotionally, or have a loved one that, really suffered. Who knows? But I think it's going to take time to bounce back. I don't think it'll be a 2 week. Okay, everyone's back in, and it's like that didn't happen. No, I think we're going to feel the effects of it for at least a year. Once we're back in, I'm saying it
Hmm.
will feel it for a year, and then maybe it'll be status quo, perhaps. But I do know, like, I don't know about you, but my head's like, I don't know. I always think like we're already, some of us are discussing like big plans for next year, what we want to do, and blah, blah, blah. Like, because we've never been apart from each other for so long and not dancing, and we're like, "Ugh, let's do this cool dope idea, let's do this, oh my god, let's bring this presenter in," you know when we're allowed, of course. And like everyone's, a few of us are still really excited about doing that and planning, because I think it's in our nature to look forward to things. I think as humans we have this incredible ability for hope. Like, we're just hopeful people
Yeah.
in general. As bleak as something can be, you get hopeful. I don't know, that's
I,
just, I'd rather be that way.
the thing that I miss the most is just dinner at my parents' house and hugging them.
I know,
You know
my
what?
parents.
Oh
I
my God.
know.
I so don't,
Don't make me cry.
I listen, I realized something.
It's hard.
I don't care
I'm
as
gonna
much
cry about it now.
not, but
I'm
check
gonna
this
cry.
out.
Don't
Check
let me
this
cry.
out. None of it. Check this out. I don't care as much about salsa anymore as much as I cared about going in the studio, walking and seeing
Mm,
my students. See what I mean?
totally.
So that feeling of coming in that
Yep.
studio and seeing the people and starting to just laughing
Yeah.
and doing.
Yep.
So I was like, it could have been a pottery class. It could have been a yoga class. Like it happened to be it's salsa, but I don't miss
Totally.
I don't miss dancing that much. I think I miss connecting, holding somebody's
Yes.
hand,
Yes.
hugging somebody. What I
Yes.
miss the most, and it bothers me that
Yeah.
that COVID, that crisis took away the essential part of who we are, and
Yeah.
that just enerves me. Like I'm not a happy camper about that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
No,
we're
that was
doing the
me.
right thing, but it's just like it's like humanity on standstill.
Yeah. And
Mm.
that Saturday was pivotal, like emotionally for me. I was like, you know, sitting in my kitchen and like totally crying because I'm like, what is happening?
Mm.
Like, this is not normal. I mean, everybody knows it's not normal, but I mean, it wasn't, I don't know, it was like, okay, you are not going to see people. You need to come to terms with that. You are not going to have that sort of enjoyment that you have every day, being able to, like you're saying, walk in the studio. We have 6 studios like going. I see it all on the cameras and I see these happy faces and these teachers giving like 100% of themselves. And I'm not going to see that. Yeah, it was a sad moment. And like, and yeah, not being and being, and it's so hard to articulate because then it's like, oh, I don't want to sound like I'm not grateful for my healthy kids and I get to spend more time with them and they're young. And yes, and that's great. But I've never done that. That's an adjustment for me. Like
Mhm.
I am not that mom that makes like snacks and makes cupcakes and makes cool banana bread. Like I don't even think I've ever made a banana bread for my
Mm.
kids. Like I'm not that mom. So it's also realizing that like, oh God, like what am I gonna do? How am I gonna be a mom now? Like the way I've been a mom is on my terms of how I like to live also, like be having a business. But
Mm.
now that's not there. So yeah, whew, there was a lot happening that week. I was like, okay, I gotta reset my life here. Okay. That's tricky, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I
Of
got this,
course. Of course.
and now this is my plan. Like Eugene and I have discussed. It's called the 1 week at a time plan. We don't look 5 weeks later. Yes, business wise I have to make decisions, but personally, it's 1 week at a time. What are we doing for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Saturday, Sunday, we're a bit more relaxed in terms of tightness. But Monday to Friday, what's our plan with our 3 kids? What are we trying to do? Where are we going? Because the first 2 weeks, whoo, shukra. It was
I think it's a brilliant plan. I put a stamp of approval on that plan.
the
I
one
think
week
it's
at a
not,
time.
I think it's a brilliant plan. There's no need to do
Yeah,
more than that because we
yeah,
don't know, and that's the situation right now.
yeah. Like even like we one night a week we have date night. Eugene and I. We try to put the kids to bed earlier, so we can actually because it's amazing how like Eugene's like, oh my god, awesome! I play video games every single day, and I was like, you're doing what?
I'm
You
here.
know? Yeah,
Hello.
I know.
I'm here.
He's like living his best life. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, it's so great. Like falling asleep downstairs until
Do you want
midnight.
me to cut? Do you want me to cut that part out of the video?
Oh, maybe I don't know. But that's real facts, people.
Because
This is real.
I like the impression like, oh my god, I wanna play.
He is. He's like even got like a headset with a like a thing, and oh my god, the gamer in
Wow,
him is like
I
living
love
his best
gaming. That's
life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's not me. I'm like I don't get it. Je comprends pas.
Je le comprends. Moi.
Anyway,
I know how he feels. Tell
yeah,
Eugene I'm a gamer at heart, so
and he
we can
is
talk.
like
That's amazing.
so. He's
What's the unit he got? It's a PlayStation 5,
no,
Xbox.
I don't even
You don't
know
even
what it
know.
is,
You don't know. You don't
dude.
know these things. You're married to this guy.
He doesn't even dance, Elias. It's like back at him. He danced the day we got married, and that was it. He was like,
That's it for you. This is for you. This is for
I
you.
give you, I give you one slow song, and you're good for the rest of our marriage. I think he
Oh boy.
plays. He plays one of those weird, like dungeony things, dragons and weird things, and like I don't know, and they grab stuff and
Mm,
points and shit. I've watched it before and been like, "What are you doing?" And then they talk
mm.
to each other. It's totally weird if you ask me. And they're like, "Yeah, man, you just na 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 na. You didn't get the shla la la, and go get the serpent and the like." I don't even know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm telling you that that world hasn't been affected by COVID. That's what I tell
No, they're doing
you.
really well.
they're, they're actually
Sales
happy. They're
are up.
happy. We are
Sales
hey
are up.
COVID time.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
gee.
sales are up. The other
Yes.
thing, like, I mean,
Sales
there's
are up.
sales are up, but everything else is down.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so the one we like, I'm loving like you got to find the positive as much as it is negative, like in certain things, like as as difficult or stressful the long term, and when I have to go back and reassess. But I'm not stressed. Like that's something I've been on a health journey in the last like month and a half because I found out when I was away that I got some issues in my gut health and I've got leaky gut and SIBO and I've got all these things, hence like super cleansing my system and I'm on
Mm,
tons of supplements to the
mm,
point where it makes me sick because I'm like, my gut health is really bad. I had a few rough years, as you know, like 3 years of stress. So it took effect on my body and my functioning. Like, and then I realized, like, I never asked my own health. Like, I'm taking care of the kids and my business. And it was like, oh yeah, I don't really sleep very well. I live off of like espresso,
Yeah.
and I don't digest anything. I'm always bloated,
Mm.
and I'm always just like have discomfort. I can't lose weight. Like suddenly it's like, oh, maybe you're not in good health. I was
Yeah.
like, oh
Yeah.
crap. So with this doctor, it's like, okay, I'm on AIP, autoimmune paleo protocol, which is to help your gut lining, and I'm on all these supplements. I'm actually off coffee.
When
I'm
did
not
that
even
happen?
drinking. I know, but everyone's like, how is that possible, Christine?
Yeah.
It's like synonymous. I know. I stopped when I went. I was there. We left February 20th, and I had my last coffee February 21st.
Coffee is a real drug when you stop drinking it.
Dude, but
You
thank God I was in
realize.
therapy. Yeah,
Hmm.
that she was like, but it's also comfort for me. Like
Yeah.
putting my Nespresso pod in and pushing
Yeah.
it and
Yeah.
pressing it on and
I
hearing it
feel
come
you.
out, like it is like happiness. And then it was like, yeah, and no drinking. I was like, what? No
Yeah.
drinking alcohol or coffee? I'm like, and then this pandemic hit. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God,
How
and
am
I
I
can't
gonna
see people.
live? How are we gonna
And I
live?
can't see people. Like it was, oh yeah. But you live and you learn, and I'm struggling and I'm still learning. And let me tell you, I research a lot now that I have the time and trying to take care of my health. And
Well,
um,
alcohol is a big one. I have to say, alcohol is a huge one because 15 years ago, about I stopped completely alcohol, like any sort. Like I don't drink at all, and
wow,
it was the beginning of. I don't know. Back then, I didn't see it as the health journey, but definitely an important element for me to stop doing because I'm a, like I said, extrovert, excessive, intense. So whatever I undertake, it's going to be intense. It's not going to be just
right,
one beer. It's not going to be just like so.
yeah,
Uh, when that stopped, I remember telling myself, okay, I'm going to stop. It was cold turkey. Like I stopped
oh,
partying right away, and I decided to do it for me. And I did a test. I decided to not drink for a month. Okay. And the
mm,
social pressures were quite kind of high because back then I was living in Taiwan. And the only thing we could do is drink because we finished I was teaching English to kids. And
mm,
at the evening, we would get around a pub and just drink. So when I stopped drinking a month after, I promised myself, if ever a month after I feel just a tad better than I felt back then, I'll stop forever. So that's the only I have two promises in my
I have a
life,
hard
and
time with
that's
the word
one.
forever.
No, forever. Like I'm not gonna kid myself. So check this out. Check this out. So a month after, I start feeling better, like really better. I thought physically and emotionally. Granted, I was partying hard, so I started to feel
So clearly you
better,
weren't hungover. Yeah.
and I started to feel better, and then just said, "That's it. I'm never gonna drink again." And I promised it to myself. And I think for me, it was more important to stop lying to myself. So if let's say you promise something to somebody and you deliver, you feel good. You're like, I'm a man of my word, and I like to be
Hmm.
considered like that, right? So whatever words I utter,
Me too.
I'm not gonna, it's gonna be the same thing that's gonna happen to what I say to everybody. That's the only thing
Mm,
that's holding us, I think, holding on an honest relationship together. So when I promise to myself, I can't just have that internal conversation and not follow through. So I decided to never touch an ounce of alcohol. And I'm telling you, Christine, it's one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. If I had to roll it back,
really.
it's the best decision because everything else, everything that happened from that point is the most amazing thing for my health. Like the kind of people that are surrounding me right now.
Mm,
Dance got it started also almost at the same time. My business started at the same time. So I had more time or more clarity and less of a drainage. Because, of course, if you party at night and the next day, you're a bit. And I would never trade it in the world. And I feel completely comfortable with the fact that let's say I would be with somebody that's drinking, I really don't mind. And it makes actually people feel uncomfortable. that I am
It
that comfortable.
does.
I'm like, I know, I don't want to drink. He goes, why? You don't want to drink? No, I don't want to drink. Not even one. No, I don't want to drink. But why? You have a problem? He goes, no, I don't have a problem. I just don't want to drink. Been off
I
alcohol for,
know.
are you're an alcoholic? He goes, no, I wasn't alcoholic.
No.
I could go a weeks without drinking, but when I partied hard. So I didn't want to go there anymore. So for me, what it represents a slippery slope to exactly where I was 15 years ago. And that spot, I'll
Mm.
tell you, that place, I never want to go back and never will go back.
Mm.
So that's the story
That's good.
of how to stop
I
drinking.
commend. I mean, I
Listen, I'll give you a little thought
yeah,
that is interesting. A thought that
because I'm drinking.
well, check
Like
this
I
out,
was
check this
not
out.
supposed to, but I am.
Well, now you have plenty of time to start again. But well, listen, there's one interesting behavioral fact. Okay, wherever things that we do them socially, we do them out of need. Sometimes we have dependencies. It's
Hmm.
very wide, right? But I still have to take my hand and reach for the drink, right? I have to
Mm.
willingly reach for the drink. So I reach for the drink and I grab it and I put it in my mouth, right? So at the end of the day, it's a choice. Now, what motivates the choice is very wide. And I don't want to judge
Mm.
people that have
No, yeah, yeah.
tendencies because some people it's a severe, right? To the point that if they don't drink, they could die. But I'm just saying that the day I decided as go, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to lie to myself. I'm going to stop. And that's it. I'm not going to reach for a drink. I'm not going to buy one. And the hardest part is not the actual you're missing the buzz or stuff like that. The hardest part is it reorganizes your social setting. It reorganizes. It's like when they say if you want to quit smoking, make sure you don't hang around smokers and throw away your ashtrays.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that. Sadly,
Well, yeah.
the
That's
people
like
that the people that I was
yeah.
drinking with back then, 15, 20 years ago, well, I don't see them anymore, except one person that was my buddy throughout 30 years.
Okay.
That's the reality. But
Yep.
do I miss it? No, not even a bit. Not even a bit.
Mm. It's like Eugene when he quit smoking. It was. It's like that. It was a very severe. Like it is an addiction also, and tobacco and nicotine. And he had been smoking since he was 13, so it was a really big habit to kick. And it
No,
was
for
before he
sure.
was even 40 that he had to quit.
And you have to go through that physical what's the word
Withdrawal.
withdrawal, which has nothing to do with what you have in your brain, or a bit of what you're in your brain, but I
Some
mean
of it is, yeah.
you have to go through a bit of pain. But once you go over the hump, like let's say 2-3 months down the road, it becomes just psychological. You don't have nicotine in your body for 2 years, but when you see
No,
a cigarette, you have like kind of that link, and people have different links with that is
he
basically
does. Yeah.
it's reinforcement of an
Yep.
impulse. So let's say you're having some kind of, like you said, listen, I drink 4 coffees a day. For some people, it's a lot. For some people, they're like, hey, I love espresso, and I drink it because I like it, but I drink it for the same reason you described before, for the exact same
Hmm.
reason. And I like the little kick. So at one point,
I
here's a
miss it.
confession.
Trust me.
I'll give you a
He
confession.
doesn't compare.
Here's a confession, right? Before I was drinking, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was drinking 8 to 10 espressos a day. And at one point, I don't know what they call it, but it's like an attack, like your heart goes into like
Yeah.
arrhythmia. And it happened after a double shot of espresso that I took at Starbucks. I was downtown and I was in the middle of a store and I had to lie down in the middle of the store. And and my wife was away and she's like, I was screaming. I was like, come here, come here, come here. She didn't understand what the hell I was saying, but I was lying down on the floor. I could not move. And then I stood up. It took
Jesus.
me 20 minutes. And then I realized, okay, it's a real drug. Like you can overdose.
Yes, you can.
I did not know it
Yes,
was
you
possible. I
can.
thought it was like a fruit, like a little grain, you know. Oh, it's potent, socially accepted drugs. You know, it's like no
Yes.
problem. Coffee, here we go. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
It's
I rolled
intense.
back. Now my limit is 4. So it's between 3 and 4 coffees a day. I do not go more than 4 because I don't want to kid myself. But I can see myself going for 5. You see how, you know, addiction works? Like once you get
Yes.
used to 4, you want to
Yes.
take another one. So you
That's
have
not
to
exactly
set
how it happens.
that's why you set yourself some rules to not go down
Yes.
that street, right? So that's why we have a say in our lives. We have a say what we eat. We have a say. There's one thing about that I really listen to a lot of podcasts nowadays, and one thing that I listened to that's really meaningful. The guy said, we spend now with that crisis a lot of time and energy on things we have no control over. Like we worry about the stock market, we worry about what's going to happen, but we have no control over that. But we should take all that energy and invest in stuff we can control. What we put in our mouths, like for example, food, what we drink, and then exercise. What we move our body, make sure we're
Absolutely.
active, and that we have control over. Nobody's going to stop us from doing that, and that energy should be there.
Exactly.
When I was listening to this, I go, "Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah, I should stop worrying."
Yes,
I needed to
it's
hear it.
true.
I needed to hear it because
You
I
do,
was
and sometimes it's hearing it from a completely different source, but it's the way it's delivered, and you're like, "Bing, you're
exactly,
right. It's
exactly.
exactly what I'm going to do." And yeah. And listen. I love coffee, and I'm going to drink coffee again. That is
Mm.
not leaving my life, but I have to take care of my health right now. And when she told me I had to be off coffee, I was like, what? Like my face was no, like why? And she's like,
Mm.
it's actually a seed. It's a seed, and it creates a lot of inflammation in the gut and this and that and
Big
the other thing.
time, big time.
And I
Uh,
already have major gut issues and bloating and pain and all this kind of schnitt. So yeah, she's like, you got to stop, and you might as well do it now because I'm here and I'm going to be working with you and all this kind of stuff with like light therapy and whatever. So I didn't actually have the withdrawal. I was very lucky. But it's a different, like I didn't have the physical effects, but it's still the mental part of it. Like I've had a decaf. I'm not even supposed to have decaf because there's still traces of
yeah,
caffeine in decaf.
yeah,
But I cheated twice so far during this COVID. I've had two
perfect.
decafs,
No
and I
problem.
was like, and I poured it, and I was like, almost cried. You
Mm.
just like, this is pathetic. And I was like holding the mug, and I'm like, nothing compares to you. And she's like, who are you?
Yeah.
I'm like, and tea is just
Mm.
not the same.
No, no,
Okay,
no.
you can't replace tea and coffee. I
No,
was like,
no.
and I'm like you.
Tea is for
I like,
yoga people.
and that's me. I'm also sort of like a hippie. Like I have this huge
Yeah.
hippie side to me, which is great. But I'm also really, I love everything about coffee. I like the machine. I like the smell. I like the pour. I love the crema. I love everything. The small spoons. Like I like the whole thing about it. So yeah, coming to terms with that is still, but knowing that it's going to be reintroduced when I'm healthier, it gives me motivation to get healthier faster. If that makes
Do
sense.
you want to laugh, Christine? Just a completely
Yes.
different note. You know, I was thinking COVID is like a virus that necessitates. I need to go to war with the virus, so I decided to do this. Watch this. So I'm going.
I wasn't expecting that.
It is just to like make you laugh a
No.
bit. Here we go. No more hair. That's it. I'm going to
That's
war with you, COVID. I'm going to war. This
Jesus.
is
You're
war.
like, no kidding. Oh my God. Good for you. You have such beautiful, bushy, curly hair.
Here we go. It's gone. It's gone. No, it's
You're
something
like,
that I wanted to do for a while, and I thought it'd be just fun to shave my head. So what I did, it was an activity with the kids. So I gave him. I'll tell you the
oh,
story. It's so funny. I gave him the clipper,
oh,
and my daughter is like, no. It's like, what do you mean? No?
daddy. Yeah,
Just take the clipper and just shave my head. She's like, I don't want to
I
do this.
know.
And she goes, I don't want to be
Oh,
responsible. It's not going to look good. She goes, do it. I'm holding the clipper, like, do it. Shave my head. She's like, and
oh.
I take the clipper out of her hands,
Just
and
in the middle.
I start shaving. Bah, bah. And she's like, oh, okay. So she takes the clipper and she starts, and she's like, all hesitant. And it's like, and my wife didn't want to. So she's like, no way, I'm not doing this. So she's like, she's doing it. Then when we're done, she looks, she's like, that doesn't look good. And I'm like, I know, don't worry about it. So she goes downstairs, and this is my wife telling me the story after. She goes downstairs and she goes, you know what? Daddy doesn't look good. And my wife goes, I know. And she hugs her and she says these words that I'll remember to this day. She says, I know he's not going to look good, mommy, but we have to love him anyways. It's like she's actually trying to convince my wife. It's like, please, don't leave him. Don't
Still
leave
love
him.
you, don't live.
Don't
He
leave.
has a bad hairdo.
Oh, like, oh my God, that was the funniest thing I ever heard. Oh my God, I laughed.
Oh,
Don't worry, don't worry, mommy, but please, let's still love him. Please.
oh, I love it.
Oh, Jesus. Well, listen,
Bless
Christine,
her.
we're gonna wrap this up. It was a pleasure to talk to you. You're such a, first of all, a wonderful guest. Uh,
Oh, thank you.
we talk officially or non-officially. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I
Yep.
don't know if you want to say some last words to maybe customers, students, staff member that might listen to this.
Yeah, I would just say to everyone, because we're all kind of in this big boat together, um, just if you're struggling, because I think that that's, if anything, more important than anything right now. If you find yourself having bad days, it's okay. Number one, forgive yourself for that. You don't have to be super productive absolutely every single day. And number two, if you are struggling, then maybe write down some things that you are grateful for. I started my actual 5-minute journal, which is looks like this. Oh, it's not here. It's in the kitchen. Sorry. It's a 5-minute journal. You don't have to have that particular, but just writing down things that you're grateful for. And number three would be to stay active no matter what. Like, even as hard as it is to peel yourself off the couch or peel yourself off a chair or out of your bed, even, but even going for a 5-minute walk outside can change your whole mood and your whole, mindset. And that at the end of the day, if we're healthy and we have a good mindset, we will get through it and we will all be okay in the end. It might just
100%.
take us a little longer. That's it.
And also, don't forget to not be shy to ask for help. Help can come in many
Yes.
forms.
Yeah.
Sometimes don't be shy to call people to I know there's some people that are more difficult situations that we are,
Yeah.
and I think my wish is that it changes things and brings us closer at the end.
Yeah.
That brings us closer, and we feel that our connection is times two. We're a little more connected with each other, and we start put away some things that are not important in our lives, or we start pushing away things that are not really important. I think what
Yeah.
we miss now is the connection, the people.
Yep.
That's what I miss the most. I miss you guys,
Me too.
whoever is
I know.
watching this, that students and stuff like that. but
Yes.
but yeah. So on that note, thank you very, very much. i'm
You're
gonna
welcome.
I'm gonna stop it on this note, and hopefully we get to chat some more, Christine.
Yeah. Well, maybe in week, 6.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it.
See,
Let's do it.
remember us in week 3?
Week 6.
Yeah. I'll be like, I'm drinking coffee, I'm drinking wine, I'm drinking. Yeah, it's like, instead of this kombucha, I'll be like, yeah, no, I'm drinking straight up espresso. Packed in.
Here we go. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye.